Thank you all for joining us today. It is an exciting day for us at Family Values at Work as we're in the first quarter of celebrating our 20th year anniversary. Woo! So that is 20 years of doing incredible work with incredible partners all across this country at the state level and at the national level. My name is Josie Kalipeni. I'm the Executive Director of Family Values at Work, and I'm happy to welcome you to our FMLA at 30 town hall discussion. We're going to be joined by Connecticut Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, who's going to be in a conversation around the Family Medical and Leave Act, which is FMLA, and also joined by our very own Stacey Bryant. Before we get to that, though, I wanted to just share for new folks that Family Values at Work is a movement network of grassroots organizers, organizations, and coalitions in more than 24 states. And we're working to win paid family and medical leave, earn sick and safe days, and affordable, high-quality childcare at the state and at the national level. Our work is anchored in a need to win economic justice for all, especially at the intersection of race, gender, and class. We center working caregivers who are Black, queer, and are caring for themselves, are maybe themselves disabled and caring for a child or a person with a disability, and are working. We know that if we can create a world, if we work on policies and campaigns that work for Black working caregivers, we're going to create a world, policies, and a workplace that works for all. Our network has won paid sick days in 54 locations. That is not a small thing over 20 years. Paid family and medical leave won in 12 states, including Washington, D.C. And today, more than 55 million people are impacted positively by paid sick days and family leave wins accomplished by incredible partners throughout our network. Tonight, we're going to discuss the state of the paid leave movement in the United States. Since February is also the 30th anniversary of the Family Medical Leave Act, we will commemorate the occasion and talk about the future of policy and what comes next. But before we get started, I want to acknowledge that we were supposed to be joined by Nija Phelps, one of the members of Family Values at Work's Voices of Workers advocacy group. The Voices of Workers, or VOW, is a collective of workers from partner organizations who share their story nationwide to put a face to the need for paid leave through people's personal lived experiences. Nija is a resident of Milford, Connecticut, and has shared her story before the House Ways and Means Committee and was quoted in The Guardian, amongst many other locations. Nija is a constituent of Congresswoman DeLauro, but she couldn't join us tonight because, as life goes, family caregiving needs came up, which is yet another real life reminder of why we do this work every day, all day. But we are privileged to be starting our conversation tonight with one of Family Values at Work's organizers, Stacey Bryant. Stacey is from the great state of Michigan, go Midwest, and is a mother of 4 beautiful children. She has a long personal and professional history of advocating for caregiving policies. And on our team at Family Values at Work, Stacey works directly with many of our partners across the country who are actively pursuing paid leave and paid sick day policies locally, as well as managing our democracy and integrated voter engagement and education program, what we call DIVE. Stacey actually just came back to the team after taking paid leave to welcome her newest little one. Maybe the little one makes an appearance. We'll see. Stacey, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and share your story of paid leave?
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Josie. And as she stated, I am part of the Family Values at Work family. I would like to say that I didn't necessarily choose this path chose me. So more recently in October of 2022, I was scheduled to have a routine induction. I was considered high risk with this pregnancy. And my partner worked all the way up until 3 hours before it was time for me to check into the hospital. When it came to this pregnancy, I was privileged enough to work for an organization that offers paid leave, but he didn't have access to that. It was a very, very long labor, but I had very supportive partner, very supportive staff at the hospital. But what we didn't plan for was something called placenta accretion. Basically, my situation became very dire where I was bleeding out. I hadn't even gotten to see my baby's face. They laid her on my chest, and that's when the room filled with lots of staff. There was no time for I love yous or it's going to be okay. It was them whisking me off into the operating room. And because of that experience, I ended up having to have an emergency DNC, and I had to have a blood transfusion. So for an hour and 30 minutes, my partner had no idea if he was going to have to take this baby home by himself. And that's just the reality, like to not have paid leave for the celebratory moments is not fair in itself. But to think about the fact that he wouldn't have leave if it was something super traumatic, and even with willingly, and by the grace of God that I'm here today to share my story, because especially in the Black community, infant mortality rates are high, especially in the state of Michigan. So I'm blessed to be here to even tell my story, but with the reality that there was no time to grieve after that traumatic experience for him. Although I was at home and I was able to bond with the baby, he had to use vacation time after we were discharged from the hospital. He used his 3 days for paternity leave while he was in the hospital with us. So having to only use his vacation time and go back to work, he was coming home every lunch hour to make sure we were okay. He was taking the night shifts with the baby to contribute and to help give me rest. I was able to immediately get a therapy session with my therapist, but he wasn't able to do that. So he had to continue with the routine, but still have to hold it together for us. And we talk about postpartum depression, and I suffered from postpartum anxiety, which was something I had never experienced with my prior pregnancies. But he was also grieving and also going through a type of postpartum anxiety as well. And there were no resources for him. So it's unfortunate that in 2023, we're still having a conversation of why don't we have paid leave? And the importance of it. So it's not something that you should be lucky to have. It's not something that, should only be for the celebratory moments like welcoming a child into the world or adoption. It should be for the good, the bad, and the ugly. It should be something that's guaranteed to all of us, because no one should have to make a choice between taking care of themselves or a loved one in their jobs. So that is my paid leave story, my most recent one, rather.
Stacey, first, thank you for sharing that experience with us. We as an organization, as a network, really believe in the power of stories, and the power of people sharing their lived experiences, because our experiences not only make us experts, but they allow us to have other people see themselves in us, and to really break some of the stigma around our experiences and why our experiences lead to us demanding the things that we need and the things that our families need. So I am so grateful that you are both courageous and bold enough to share your story. And if you're not courageous and bold, that you do this anyways, because that is as important as having the courage and boldness. So I'm just really grateful for that. I am curious because you know this work, we talk about this all the time. And I feel like this is maybe the fourth or fifth paid leave story I know of Stacey Bryant, right?
Right.
And when I think about your beautiful family, when I think about your amazing and kind partner, I also then think about people on the Hill and people in different states who talk about paid leave when what they actually mean is parental leave only. And I'm wondering, from your experiences, both in this work and your personal experiences, what do you think about parental leave only? And how would that work for you and your family?
Um, Parental leave only just seems like it's so, to be honest, like I just don't like the verbiage of parental leave only. Like it's not inclusive enough. It does not include all the possible situations that can happen. And like we've shared so many stories over the 20 years, like, are we not at the point where we don't understand that life is lifing and that it looks different for everybody across the board, regardless of race, gender, class? Like if you've been alive in the last 100 years, probably longer than that, but to be realistic, in the last 100 years, everybody has had a paid leave story. So
Yeah.
parental only is just not inclusive enough, and it's just not inclusive enough. It's not enough for what
Yeah.
people need.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're watching us and you're tweeting, that tweet was life is lifing. And that's why we need inclusive and expansive paid family and medical leave, not parental leave only. Of course, you can tag Stacey, you can tag Family Values at Work. Our hashtag tonight is FMLA at 30. And we always hashtag network strong because we know that to win this, we have to be networked and in partnership with other individuals and other organizations across this country to build the power that we need to win paid family and medical leave. I want to take a quick step back and just say, when we say paid family and medical leave, if you are new to this conversation, what we mean at Family Values at Work is the idea that if you are working and have a need to leave work for the reasons of caring for yourself or caring for someone else. And when we say care, we don't just mean medical, we don't just mean when someone has a child, but we also mean adoption, when someone needs to take leave for mental health purposes, when you need to recover from a surgery. You should be able to leave your job for a period of time that you need, that is adequate for the reasons you need to leave your job and or for the time you need to leave your job. And that while you are out of work for that moment that you need care, that you should be able to be reimbursed a percentage of your wages, so that the need to care for yourself and the need to care for someone else doesn't mean that you become financially destabilized. You going to get the surgery that you need or have the child shouldn't mean that you default on your student loans or that you can't make rent at the end of the month. So imagine taking leave to have a child. You need this country somehow thinks you need 2 days, but let's be real. You need anywhere from 2 to 6 to 12 weeks, depending on what race you are and what gender you are. But if you take that time to have a child and to bond with your child, it shouldn't mean that you can't pay your rent, because then where are you bringing that child back to, Stacey?
Exactly, robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Exactly. Caring for yourself and caring for someone else shouldn't mean stress, mental and emotional and physical stress. And it shouldn't mean becoming economically destabilized to care for yourself and to care for someone else. So that's what we mean when we say paid family and medical leave. And it should also mean that your job is protected, that you should be able to come back to your place of work without fear of retaliation, without fear of losing your job, and without fear of losing your wages. And that's so critical in a country that's facing so much. And Stacey, what does that mean? Not just in this country, not just as a parent, but what does it mean as a Black woman to have rights and protections and benefits like that?
First and foremost, it would be It wouldn't be nirvana, but it would be damn near close to it, because that would be the beginning of dismantling oppressive systems, especially in the healthcare industry. It would mean healthier communities. It would mean more time to heal and rest mentally, physically, and emotionally. Spend more time with our children and our elders, and changing the trajectory of like pouring from empty cups. Like I cannot show up as my full authentic self in society if I'm pouring from an unhealthy cup. And if I don't have the time to heal, to rest, to take care of my loved ones, then how am I adding value to my community? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. So I think that that's what it would mean to me as a Black woman. Yes, so thank you so much for letting me share my story. I would love to introduce the next exciting person that we have on now. So we are joined tonight by Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, one of our most critical and federal champions for paid family and medical leave. I want to share a little bit about her with you all before Josie gets started. So Rosa DeLauro is the Congresswoman from Connecticut's 3rd Congressional District, which stretches from Long Island Sound in New Haven to the Nantucket Valley in Waterbury. Rosa serves as the ranking member of the House of Appropriations Committee and sits on the Democratic Steering and Policy Committee. And she is the ranking member of Labor, Health and Human Services and Education Appropriations Subcommittee, where she fights for critical investments in the nation's education, health, and employment. At the core of Rosa's work is her fight for America's working families. Rosa believes that we must raise the nation's minimum wage, amen, give all employees access to paid sick days, allow employees to take paid family and medical leave, and ensure equal pay for equal work. Rosa believes that our first priority must be to strengthen the economy and create good middle-class jobs. That's why since 2013, DeLauro has introduced the Family and Medical Insurance Leave Family Act to create a permanent national paid family and medical leave program. The legislation would ensure that every worker, no matter the side of the employer or if they're self-employed or part-time, has access to paid leave for every serious medical event every time it's needed. DeLauro's Family Act is modeled on successful state programs and will create permanent paid family and medical leave program for all workers for 12 weeks. DeLauro has been a leader in the fight to extend paid leave to federal employees, enact federal paid leave program during COVID-19 crisis, and establish a national paid family and medical leave program. DeLauro was also instrumental in getting paid family and medical leave program included in the House passed Build Back Better Act, which would have been the first step toward that goal. So I would like to warmly welcome Congresswoman DeLauro and pass it and kick it off to Josie.
Thank you, Stacy, and Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My God, Stacy, thank you for that introduction. My mother would have loved it. Thank you so very much for your very kind words, and just to be with you, Josie, as well tonight. Thank you for all that you are doing, and thank Family Values at Work, because that's what you are all about. And so I'm so pleased to be able to join this event tonight with all of you. And we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of Family and Medical Leave. So you know the statistics. Nearly 15 million workers take family and medical leave each year. It has transformed workplaces, but we all know this, that too many people have been left behind, even though there is family and medical leave. And there's almost about 2.6 million people each year need the leave, but don't take it. And you know why? Because they're fearful that they will lose their job, that they can't go back to it. You got another 8.4 million people that, under the family definition that is there now, they're only protected for certain family members. That's it, but not all close loved ones. And another 10.5 million each year who need leave but don't take it. And why? Because they can't afford to take unpaid leave. That's what you know. That's what I know. So, Stacy, I thank you for mentioning we have reintroduced the Family Act every Congress. And we're going to continue to do that to make sure that we will create a comprehensive national program to meet the needs of all workers to take paid sick leave to care for a loved one or a new child, no matter the size of their employer. The United States, which is, it really is such a blemish that the United States is the only industrialized nation with no paid family and medical leave. We know it's long overdue, and that we need to bring comprehensive paid leave to all working Americans, families today. So I'm proud to stand with you. Just very, very quickly, my own story on family medical leave. In 1986, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I went to my then boss, Chris Dodd, and I said to him, I'm going to the hospital. I'm really not quite sure what the outcome is going to be. His words to me ring in my mind always and always will. It's, Rosa, go get yourself well. Your job is here. Your pay is here. You do not have to worry. And I was a staff person at the time. We had 3 kids. We were going to school, and we didn't know how we would cope, but he made my life so much easier where I could focus on getting well. And that's what we ought to be doing, is helping people to get well. So, we stand up. We're going to demand paid leave for all. It is a matter of right and wrong, and we are all diminished if we fall short on this effort. And after 30 years of unpaid leave, at least a decade of pushing legislation and battling for this leave to be paid, we're done. We're done waiting, Josie. And if members of Congress are able to take time, as I was when my mom was very ill at the end of her life, then so should the American people. And so thank you for letting me join you tonight and for standing up and speaking out with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. This is why I enjoy sharing space with you so much, because you are always so fired up about the issues that are so important to us. We're so grateful for the champion that you are and continue to be. And every time I hear your personal story, there's always a new angle to it, and it just hits me differently each and every time. And I'm just so grateful for it. I love you for jumping in, but I want to pause and just say, how are you? How was your day? And what is bringing you joy today?
Well, it's been a very, very busy day. Started at what's wonderful about this job? The various things that you get to do. I started this morning talking about the F-135 engine for the F-35 airplane. The engine is produced at Pratt & Whitney in Connecticut. So I was off talking about all of that. I'm trying to think of the other things. I know. I went to the CARE Coalition.
The CARE Can't Wait rally. Yeah.
I was there today. We just did a reception for the young woman who is leaving as staff director for the on the Appropriations Committee, and a bunch of things in between. And after this, I'm going to meet with some of my Democratic women colleagues. There's a gathering there's so many women who are now ambassadors. Yes. From countries. There are so many women. So it's been organized to get us a chance to meet one another. So yes. It's been, and the day has been crazy and hectic, but there's also the joys of knowing that the issues that you're engaged in can really help to make a difference.
Yes, 100%. And we are committed with you on all of those issues. And we're committed with you to not let another decade go by without paid family and medical leave for all workers, even those workers in Connecticut that are making engines.
They're here. There you go.
Congresswoman DeLauro, I love that you've been at this for a while. I'm wondering if you can give us a brief explanation about FMLA, how FMLA is important, where it falls short, and why you continuously introduce the Family Act, why you've done that for the past several Congresses.
Well, this goes back a ways. uh, for me. And I said I worked for Senator Dodd, and he was the author of the Family and Medical Leave Act 30 years ago. And I was working as his chief of staff at the time. And what we did was we traveled all across the state of Connecticut to talk to businesses primarily about how they would feel about doing this. I also, with my own family, my mom worked in the old sweatshops in the city of New Haven. She worked, my dad worked. At that time, my daycare was at my grandmother's pastry shop, where they, my aunts were there, et cetera. They could watch me after school, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was a different time and a place. So when you think about then what's happened today in our society, it is that men and women, aunts, uncles, grandmothers, everybody is in the workforce. So it's not the family of the past where someone might have been home to be a caregiver. That's not the case. And so our public policy needs to change with the changing way in which people are living today. And then I had the opportunity of working with the senator. He introduced this piece of legislation. And this was unpaid because we knew at that time we couldn't get, a paid piece of legislation. But he introduced it every year for 8 or 9 years. And he got it passed. It was vetoed by President Bush. But finally, in 1973, it passed and President Clinton signed it into law. I believe it was the first bill. I'm sorry, 1983. I get that wrong, 1993, that was passed into law, and President Clinton signed the piece of legislation, which was transforming in terms of people's lives. But when you talk about falling short, why does it fall short? So many people, as I said, over 7 million people they need it, but they can't take it, because who can take that much time without being paid? You just can't do it. So the time has now come for us to make this happen. Yes. And it's a different environment,
It's a totally different environment. Like you're saying, our families look different, workers look different. We know even before the pandemic, but definitely after the pandemic, that care and caregiving and needing to take time off is essential, and that our workplaces look different. So now is the time. And I'm curious to know, what do you think it's going to take, right? You've been at this for a while. Family Values at Work is celebrating its 20th anniversary. We've been at this for a while. What's it going to take? And we're committed to whatever it takes. But I am curious to hear from you. What is it going to take for us to win this and to actualize it for all workers across this country?
Well, first of all, you talked about your commitment. What I really have found over the years, and some people come to the Congress and, my God, if they don't pass a piece of legislation, in the first year, then they say, my God, why did I come? But you can't do that. You've got to not give up.
Yes.
For me, I always make reference to the child tax credit. Took 18 years. We finally got it to be part of the American Rescue Plan. We're still fighting to make it permanent and so forth, but 18 years. So you can't give up.
Yes.
Now, what is going to happen, what you can do is, it is the external pressure on the institution.
Yes.
That is and to mobilize people. And I think we have a good opportunity, because when you think about what happened, particularly to women in the pandemic.
Yeah.
They were pushed out of the workforce, essentially because there wasn't adequate childcare or affordable childcare.
Yeah.
But they were forced out of their jobs, and then they were left with no means of taking care of their families.
Yeah.
And that is a stark reality, which is one of the best reasons for us to move now and to put that external pressure on this institution which responds Congress responds, and
Yeah.
not the external pressure. And it's American voters across the political spectrum. Doesn't make any difference if you're a Democrat or Republican. They are supportive of paid family and medical leave. They understand what it means to their families.
Yes.
That is the difference in the economic wherewithal and the success of their families and their ability to take care of their kids, their family, which is so critical, in the lives of families today.
It really is. And that, that really resonates with me. The thing that I always think about, Congresswoman, is that in our homes and at our dinner tables, or when you get that text message or that call, the demands of care are not political. When we are talking about this, when we are having these conversations with our siblings, our parents, our aunts, they're not political. When you need to show up for your family and you can, that's what you do. That's what we all thrive to do. And so it's confounding sometimes when it seems like only one political party cares about this issue. Can you explain why? Do you have insights as to what is happening? Why does this seem like such an obvious issue to me and you, and yet we're sort of in this kind of stuck place? We're going to build the power to win it, but I'm curious if you have any insights.
Oh, I think you're right. We're going to the power to win it, but again, I think that members of Congress need to feel the pressure of the people that they represent.
Yes.
They need to understand, and it is the storytelling of their own constituents and the view that if they are not going to be there for people with their economic needs, then maybe those folks won't be there for them when they're looking for assistance or help to be elected or re-elected.
Yeah.
And I can't describe it. I mean, I think some of them feel that government shouldn't be engaged in this kind of an effort, but this is precisely where what we should do is to have a national, comprehensive, paid family and medical leave policy. It shouldn't be left up to your zip code or what the industry that will help out. I also believe that a powerful force in helping to persuade people is the business community, where we have seen real success at this. And it's interesting to note that we're now looking at, I know in the area of childcare, with this new CHIPS bill that we passed, people who are the industries who are going to get that money have to have a childcare plan in place in order to do that. How they do it. So we're becoming more aware of the public policy needs that people have. There are several Republican members who have offered proposals, but quite honestly, they would take from people's Social Security to pay for it. They would take money from other programs that we need for people to be able to succeed. In 2021, over 300 businesses, told members of Congress that they needed to pass paid family and medical leave. So we are getting a more enlightened business community, which I think it can be very, very helpful in us trying to get this all done.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. If you're in our audience and you're joining us tonight, thank you. I would love to hear from you on Twitter. Use the hashtag #NetworkStrong and paid leave for all. And my question to you all in our audience to tweet or put on your social media is, what would having an expansive and inclusive paid family and medical leave benefit in this country mean for you and for your family, for your community? So share with me what that would mean for you, and use those hashtags so we can follow along with what you're saying. And Congresswoman DeLauro, for those folks that are new to this conversation, as folks are trying to figure out their rights, trying to figure out FMLA and what comes next, can you get into the difference between parental leave, personal leave, and medical leave? And why can't we just advocate for parental leave?
Well, it's a very, very interesting question. I'm going to use myself as an example. Okay. Diagnosed ovarian cancer. It was about me.
Yeah.
Leaving my job. And was I going to have a job to go back to?
Yeah.
How was I going to be able to take care of, share the burden of our family expenses if I wasn't bringing home any salary at that time? And what would that have meant to my family personally? So this was about me getting ill. Yeah. My own second example is when my mom, this is 5 years ago, my mom passed away, and she was age 103. I spent the last 6 weeks of her life with her every single day, every single night. I was a member of Congress at the time. No one said to me, Rosa, you don't have a job. You're no longer a member. You're not going to get your salary. But that was about being a caregiver for my mother. Those are my two examples. And I believe that we ought to provide, this is for if you get ill, if your family gets ill, or it's the birth of a child, or you adopt a child, or there's, dealing with people who are coming back from armed forces, people coming back from overseas engagements and war, etc. They're all of these people. Then it's not only for a particular I don't regard, parental as being an illness, but it is a joy. It's not, and obviously we should be helping people, but we also ought to be looking at those and not curtail the opportunity for people to be a part of. If we just do the parental leave, then, my fear is that we will lose sight of caregiving.
Yeah.
And, look, today, people are in what they call the sandwich generation. It's either about their kids or it's about their parents. And particularly for women, find themselves being the caregivers in both of these instances. So you need to, it's best if we move now to a comprehensive national universal standard.
Yeah. One of the things that we are learning from a lot of the state paid leave programs, and one of the things that we know is that women, particularly Black working women in particular, their primary use for paid leave isn't for children, for having children, or for childcare. It's for their own health reasons or for the caregiving reasons of someone else. So when we think about parental leave only benefits, we're leaving out a ton of women, a ton of Black women whose primary needs for paid leave isn't parental. And I think about my sister, lives in Houston, and her husband just had a baby, my first niece. And I'm so excited, this precious my new favorite person in the world. And I think about how I was able, because of my flexible environment, because of the incredible team I work with at Family Values at Work, I was able to get up and go and be there for her and be there for her husband as they had an emergency C-section and took extra time in the hospital. That is not parental leave. A sister leaving work to go support her sister during childcare is not considered part of a parental leave benefit. And yet that's what our communities are doing all the time. And so it's so, it's so important. And Congresswoman DeLauro, I'm the oldest of 6. And so parental leave when my siblings need me, when my aging mom needs me, is not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me.
No. And it needs to work for everyone to buy in as well. That's when you've got a general acceptance of the public policy and how it benefits everyone. And,
Yes.
I think about this and I think about the Congress every day. Someone in this institution has taken the time for their child, for themselves, for another loved one, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And everybody says, amen, good. Go take care of your family. Well, what the hell? If we can do it, why can't everybody else do it?
Yes.
And the other thing is I'm often, wondering, that when it is an outbreak of flu or something, there's people on TV saying, don't go to work if you're sick. Well, if you're sick and you don't go to work and you can lose your job, well, hell, you're going to go to work sick,
Yes.
and when your kids are sick,
Yeah.
you can't take time off to take care of them. You're going to send them to school sick as well.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the reality of our lives today, because as I said before, families are not where they were in the past.
Yes.
There isn't someone staying home 24 hours to take care of someone who needs that care.
Yes.
Everybody is working.
Yes.
We need to recognize that in terms of the public policy that we're engaged in.
Yes. Okay, before I give you time for closing remarks, what do you say to people who say that we can't afford to do this? Or to those people who say, I figured it out when I had kids in 1980, you should figure it out. I worked and did all of this myself. What do you say? What's your answer for those?
Well, some of the people who talk about, let me just say this. We started with paid sick days. I can remember in the state of Connecticut, oh my God, our economy was going to go to hell in a handbasket. We couldn't do this, etc. It's now in place for the last several years. Businesses applaud it. They're there. Our economy didn't tank. They talked about minimum wage and our economy would tank as well. It hasn't. We need to increase the minimum wage.
Yes.
Today. But, I look at people who say, especially those, who supported a $2 trillion tax cut for the richest 1/10 of 1% of the people in this country and the richest corporations who pay no taxes at all in this country. If we can afford the $2 trillion to take care of those folks, well, by God, we can take care of people with medical leave. That's where we got to go. Let's face it. These are the naysayers. They don't want to do it, but we got to, we just got to roll on by, and we got to get that external pressure beating on the doors of this place.
Yes.
To say it has to happen.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman DeLauro. I want to give you time to make some closing remarks and ask you what you want for your birthday. What's your birthday wish? I heard you have a birthday coming up.
Lordy, I got to try to forget, the birthday. But, look, you know, and I do, because you deal with this every single day, Josie. And especially I look at your group, family values at work. It's about values and who we are as a society and how our government reflects our society. And today, and this is no soundbite, people are living paycheck to paycheck. They have watched costs go up for healthcare, for education costs, the whole 9 yards. People, they can't afford, if they have a $400 emergency, it throws them off the tracks. They don't know what they're going to do. The cost of living is high today.
Yeah.
Some families can't even put food on the table or keep their lights on. So people in their lives need financial stability.
Yeah.
Paid family and medical leave provides financial stability for folks. 30 years ago, we broke ground and we said that we're going to provide you with the time, but it wasn't the time when they were going to vote for the money portion of it.
Yeah.
So we got to break that ground again and now turn this into paid leave. And I just say to all of you, you've got to keep up that work.
Yeah.
You can't lose hope in the business that you're in and that I am in. Again, you never give up, but you also don't take no for an answer. And
Yeah.
you keep going and you make your voice heard every single opportunity that you can. And I believe, you know, that we can get it done. We're almost there.
Yeah.
And it's taken a long time, but we're not going to wait another 30 years.
That's right.
I'm not going to do it. So I thank you for allowing me to be with you tonight. Thank you very much.
Congresswoman DeLauro, thank you so much. We would not have launched our first town hall within our 20th anniversary series without you first. As such a key champion of paid family and medical leave, we know that it is one of the key and critical benefits that our communities need. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We are anxiously awaiting the reintroduction of this year. We've got your back. We're coming full force because we will not wait another 10 years. And this is an invitation for everyone who's listening and everyone you know to join myself, to join Congressman DeLauro in this fight for working caregivers, in this fight for our families. Because if we all band together, we are going to win, and we are going to win soon. As Congresswoman DeLauro said, we are so close. We are at the tipping point. I can feel it in every ounce of my body. And I know that we are at the precipice of transforming work and the workplace for working caregivers in this country everywhere. Please join us at familyvaluesatwork.org. There's so many ways for you to get involved, from sharing your own story and being a public spokesperson, to being an advocate, to hosting an event, to joining our network and joining our movement. We can connect you to local partners and connect you in the national movement to win for our families and to win for working caregivers. Congressman DeLauro, thank you so much.
God bless.
Stacey, thank you. I heard you're off to pick up baby, so I understand. There you go.
Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you, Stacey. And I will never get off of a call without thanking the incredible team at Family Values at Work, our digital team, our comms team, our state advocacy team, our learning and evaluation, everyone at Family Values at Work. This work is not possible without you all and our incredible network partners. We're building the power to win this thing, and we need you all to join us. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Tell the stories.
Tell the stories. That's right. That's right.
Great. Good night. Thank you all very, very much.
Good night.